Okay, so this is the high altitude balloon experiment kit, which you should receive. It has a number of electronic packages in it, as well as some equipment for the lifter. So what you'll see is a number of different electronics packages, which we'll go through individually, and then we'll look at the lifter components later on. So you've got a GPS tracker, which reports its location via satellite, so that tells you where the balloon is, and we'll look at that in a moment. Some of you will have a Smart Citizen kit, looks like this, which will measure air quality as well as a few other things. We'll look at that in a moment. You will all have a HackHD camera in this box, looks like this. Fold those out if you want to. You will all have a package of extra things, as well as a battery pack and the Habex kit. This is the sensor kit that we've put together ourselves. So these are the 4 components that you'll find that you can put into your kit. The Habex kit, HackHD camera, Smart Citizen, and the Spot tracker. Now, each of these needs power, and each of these needs a way to record information, and so we can go through that step by step. But we start with the camera. Inside your pack, like this, you will find a lithium polymer battery. It looks like this. It's very important to use this battery for the camera and not this battery for the camera. This is a battery pack for the Smart Citizen. It uses AAAs, and it's fine. It works well for the Smart Citizen, but the HackHD camera needs a lot of current, and so we use a lithium polymer battery that looks like this. Okay, you can plug that straight into your HackHD like that. Just goes into the jack there, and then it's ready to go. You can mount that into your box however you're going to do that, and then if you want to actually run the camera, one thing to remember, the cameras actually come with a lens cap on them, so make sure you take the lens cap off. And then all you have to do is press that button. The SD card should already be in the camera. And if you press that button once, the little light will turn on and then start to flash. And as soon as it's flashing, that tells you that it's taking video. The orientation of the camera is this way. So this is taking video up and down. If you put it this way, it would be recording upside down video. So the SD card should be facing down in order to make sure that you're mounting it properly. Don't mount it like this, or you'll get letterbox video. So that's the HackHD camera taking video, doing what it's supposed to do. You can press the button to turn it off, but with this Li-Poly battery that we've included, it should last about 3 hours, which should be plenty of video for your flight. The Smart Citizen has on the back of it a SD card slot like that. The SD card should already be in there. There's also a slot for a little battery that holds the current time for the clock. That should already be in there. Make sure that those are both in there. And then on the side here is another jack that looks just like the one on the HackHD camera. That's for this set of AAA batteries. That plugs in just like that. And then you need to switch the battery pack on. There's a switch on the battery pack. And you need to switch the Smart Citizen on. There's a small switch just beside the battery pack port. You switch that on, lights start to flash, and it is now recording information. So it will record information for hours and hours and hours and hours on that battery pack. And for our purposes, the important information that it's recording is carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide. It's also recording humidity and temperature. It does record sound and light as well, but they're not as useful as the ones we've got on our kit. So when it comes time to analyzing the data, you can look at them or not. So that's the Smart Citizen. As long as the lights are flashing, it should be recording information. So I'll turn that one off. I'll turn that battery pack off. The Habex kit that we've provided has a number of wires coming out of it. Looks quite a little bit scary. But this is because we want some of these sensors to be on the outside of your box. So just walking through the kit itself, there's a battery, just little tiny battery, just like the Smart Citizen. There's a place for an SD card. That won't be in there, but I'll show you that. On the back is a battery pack with 4 AA batteries connected. We've given you a secondary set of AA batteries that you can use for a fresh set when you launch. And then on the front, there are a number of different sensors: barometric pressure sensor, glow positioning, and then externally to your payload box, you're going to have each of these wires. They all do different things. This is our sensor, which will sense ultraviolet, infrared, and visible light. The one underneath it is an accelerometer, which measures how the box is moving. This is a noisemaker, so that it makes it easier to find the payload when you're done. This is a set of lights, which make it easy to find the payload when you're done, but it also gives you information about the current status of the payload to make sure that everything is working properly. You got a big beefy power switch, and all of that stuff should be outside your box so that it's easily accessible. To set this one up, inside your package, you'll find another SD card. You'll find a fresh set of batteries, and you'll find a SD card holder. This is so that you can read the SD card from the camera or the Smart Citizen kit. This, however, is the SD card for your Habex kit, and it needs to be put together and put in to the kit. So the mini SD card goes into the adapter, and then that goes into the big SD card slot. Okay, if it just pushes in, should be fine. This one just pushes and pulls. Once that's in and the batteries are on, connected, you should be able to turn it on with the big power switch, and you'll get the beacon that will show you the lights and the sound, and you'll know that the system is working. Turn that on, lots of lights flash. If you get 3 pulses like that, everything's working fine. If the pulses are yellow, that means that the GPS can't find a signal, and that's not a surprise because we're indoors. When you test this outside before your launch, you should find that blinking green. And it'll blink every 30 seconds or so every time it takes a measurement. If it blinks in a different pattern, that means there's something wrong, and I can demonstrate a few of those problems as well. For example, if the SD card's not sated properly, then it'll flash in a different pattern. If the sensors aren't connected properly, it'll flash in a different pattern. But if everything is working properly, it'll give you those 3 beeps every 30 seconds. Let's turn it off. I'm going to take the SD card out and see what happens. We'll turn it on. We get the 2 red beeps that tells us that the SD card is not installed properly. So we turn it off, put the SD card back in, and everything should be fine. That means we're good. Now, if for some reason the sensor board gets disconnected, and that might be because you want to mount it on the outside of your box before you plug it in, that's fine. You'll want to connect it again. There's an orange and a red sort of dot of color there, or orange and green dot of color, and you can line that up with the orange and the green ends of your cable here. And that just slides in. So if we were to disconnect this by accident and turn it on, then we get a different error message. 1 blue means that the external sensors are not plugged in properly. There's no error message that tells us that the lights are not plugged in properly, because the lights are what give us our error message. The lights need to be plugged in here. There is a little connector that plugs in, and again you've got colors that indicate white, red, and black that indicate where that's supposed to be connected. The external sensor board connects to the main board here, and again you've got colors red and green that tells you the order of that to be plugged in. And then the beacon needs to be connected, the noisemaker part of the beacon needs to be connected to these 2 pins right here. The order doesn't really matter, but it seems to be a little bit louder if you plug in the positive side and the pin that's more towards the middle of the board. And we've marked that out on the board as well. But if everything is plugged in and connected, then that should work properly. So that is the 3rd electronics component that goes in your payload. The 4th is the spot tracker. Looks like this. You get this tracker, and we've made an arrangement with Spot to give us a year's worth of tracking, which is fantastic. So they're giving us the tracking for these balloon launches, and you can use it later on if you need to. The device itself looks like this. There's a little clip that you can use or not, it doesn't really matter. So it's a mounting clip. You can mount it to the outside of your box, you can dangle it below your box, but we have typically, when we've done the launches, we've typically not included that clip. There's a USB cable to charge it. To charge it, you have to take these 2 screws off and plug it in there. But to make this thing work, all you have to do is press and hold the button, and you'll see the lights flash, and then it's tracking. And as soon as the lights stop flashing, you'll see the power light will flash every once in a while. The satellite will flash red if it doesn't get a signal. If it flashes green, then the GPS is getting a signal, and then it should be able to communicate with your smartphone app or website that will show you where your payload is. In this case, we're indoors, so it's flashing red, meaning it can't find a satellite, which again isn't a surprise. But when you put that into your payload, you should make sure that that's flashing green before you launch. And you should also make sure that you can see the location of this device on your smartphone app when you're actually getting ready to launch. This thing will track when it's moving. If it stops moving, it'll stop tracking. But it should report once per day. So even if you launch and it stops tracking for some reason, it should give you a report once a day, and it'll tell you where your payload has landed. To turn it off, you just press the button and hold, and then the lights flash again to tell you that it's turning off. And you should get a report in your website that says that there was a power off on that device as well. So that's the 4 components of electronics that go into your payload. And in the next video, I'll show you how to all the components of your lifter, as well as how to put the box together with each of these components.